All right. I can start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is To Cast Him Down from His Excellency. And that is a direct quote from the book of Psalms, the 64th chapter. No, I'm sorry, 62nd chapter. I was right. And, we're going to get into that and into a few other scriptures. Because, you got the devil, Vocab Malone, at it again. He finally decided to release the video when he came out to see us, which I think that was over a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. And now, after he scrutinized it and chopped and screwed it, that's what he's going to do. He's going to pretty much just put out the parts of different videos that try to make the Hebrew Israelites look bad, because at the end of the day, Vocab Malone is nothing but the devil that the Bible speaks of. He's a devil, he's Satan, he's an Edomite, and he's one of those individuals back in the past that tried to stop this work and this building. Back then it was physical, today it's spiritual. And hit some of those words and get some of the meanings of those words. You can clearly see how these devils, were set up even to this very day to do what they do. So we're going to start off in the book of Psalms, the 62nd chapter. I guess we could start at 1 and then work our way down, and then, go into our other precepts and see where the Spirit leads us. Psalms chapter 62 and 1. It says, "Truly my soul waiteth upon the Most High. From him cometh my salvation." And that's the only place our salvation is going to come from, is from Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. It says, "He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be greatly moved." Yeah, because at the end of the day, the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai will stand up to defend his elect. And that's just the plain old truth. It says, "How long will you imagine mischief against a man? You shall be slain, all of you." And this is dealing with our enemies. They're going to be slain. In this time, when the destruction comes, their New World Order will be slain, destroyed. They will go into captivity, serve hardcore slavery. And after they serve their hardcore slavery, they will be totally annihilated, burned up to a bonfire. Talking about the Edomites. It says, "As a bowing wall shall you be, and as a tottering fence." Yeah, they're going to be like dominoes. You set up, it takes you a long time to set up a bunch of dominoes, and you set them up in swirls, you set them up going up steps, coming down steps, and all kind of fancy things that you do with it. And then you hit the one domino and it totters. It hits all the rest of them and knocks them all down. And it knocks them down quickly, because the Lord is going to make a speedy work of this place. He's going to destroy this place speedily. Remember, the Lord is angry with Esau and these nations for the controversy of Zion. And that controversy that he has against these nations is for what they did to us, the Israelites. Zion, the monument of the Most High. All right, it says, verse 4, "They only consult to cast him down from his excellency. They delight in lies. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly, Salah." So it says they only consult to cast him down from his excellency, because that is the job of Vocab Malone, the Edomite, and all other Edomites and all other devils out there. Their job pretty much is to try to cast down the excellency of this truth, because they don't want to have us to be exalted and to take back our rightful place, where we belong, as the people of the Most High and the good graces of the Most High, being perfect, having a changed body, an incorruptible body, having our minds changed, having the law, statutes, and commandments put into our inward parts and being totally in unity with our power. They don't want that because they know that once that happens, the gig is up for all these other nations. Because pretty much what we are to these different nations is nothing more than merchandise or business. That's what we are to them. As long as we're in a fallen state, they can make merchandise of us. They can make business out of us. But once we get back into power, that business or making money off of us will be done away with. All right? So keep that in mind as we go into the book of Ezekiel. But now I want to go look up a couple of these words in the book of Psalms, the 62nd chapter and the 4th verse. So the first one we're going to look up is consult, which is ya'itazah, which this is going to be another word that we're going to be looking up when we read Ezra, the 4th chapter, Lord's will. Ya'itazah, to advise, consult, give counsel, purpose, devise, plan. To advise, counsel, give counsel, consult, counselor, to consult together, exchange, counsel, deliberate, counsel together, to conspire. All right, and when you look up the word conspire, the word conspire literally means with breathing, which is two or more people coming together for the purpose of a plan or an agenda that they have. All right, and the next word we're going to look up is the word excellency, which means elevation, exaltation, dignity, swelling, uprising, dignity, exaltation, loftiness, swelling, uprising, figuratively, elation or cheerfulness, exaltation in rank or character, be accepted, dignity, excellency, highness, raise up, self, rising. So they don't want us to rise back up to the level and even beyond the level of what we once had. During the reign of King Solomon, that was the highest exaltation that the nation of Israel was ever under. And that is why the Queen of Sheba, when she came to Solomon and he spoke to her, she had no more life in her, pretty much, because she was so taken by this greatness, of this man and of his people and of, the wisdom that he had and the riches that he had and how everything was in such order. And they hate to see that. So what they're seeing right now is the Lord said he's going to set us in order before their eyes. So they're seeing the elect of the nation of Israel being mustered together and growing. And they're seeing the power and the beauty and the wisdom and knowledge and understanding still being in such a low state, such a low condition. So just imagine when the Lord exalts us. So they don't want that. So that's what it says. They only consult to cast him down from his excellency, because they don't want us to be back in our dignified state. They don't want us to be back in our highness, in our majestic status or stature. They want us to stay down in the dumps like we are. Why? Because they can make merchandise off of us. They can use us for business. What do you think is keeping these devils afloat? It's Jake. When you look in the different entertainment arenas and the different business arenas, a lot of those ideas, a lot of what makes money comes from Jake, because Jake is still in a slave mentality. So they're making business of us, and they don't like that. So it says they only consult to cast him down from his excellency. They delight in lies. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly. Salah. Because at the end of the day, Vocab Malone and others are not teaching, if you want to call it teaching. They're not really teaching the Bible. They're not teaching the scriptures. What they're doing is they're trying to destroy and dismantle the Hebrew Israelites that have been set up to teach this word. You have them Amalekites you have some of them that don't accept anybody. They treat everybody as if they're just cattle. You know, they like they're just nothing but slaves. And you never hear Bo-Cat Malone say anything bad about them. You never hear him on a quest to try to so-called change them or make them look bad. He's not gonna do it. You know why? Because those are the puppet masters, and he is the puppet, and he's been paid. And he's been sent on a mission, and that mission is to destroy the Hebrew Israelites by any means necessary. But he's not gonna get that far. So now let's go to Ezra chapter 4. And by the time we finish this chapter, Lord's will, you know, you brothers will see that this is dealing exactly today as it was back then. Back then it was dealing physically. Today it's dealing spiritually, but eventually it's going to get physical. Because one thing Esau can't stand is for the children of the Lord to be set back up into power. All right. Ezra chapter 4, verse 1. Now when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity builded the temple unto the Lord power of Israel. So now I wanted to look up the word captivity. All right. Because when you look up, there's a precept in my Bible, right? And the precept says, Hebrew, the sons of the transportation. So let's look up that word, and then we'll look up that word transportation in the common dictionary. So we have the children of the captivity, which is the word galah or gawalah. Exile, captivity, exiles, collective, exile, captivity, abstract, exile, concretely and collectively, exiles, carried away, captive, captivity, removing. All right, so keep that in mind. So the children of the captivity, or the sons of the transportation. So what I did was I looked up the word transport, which is the root word of transportation, and there's several meanings. So I'm just going to go to certain key ones. It says the commercial enterprise of moving goods and materials. And that is, you got to remember that slaves are a very big commodity as far as making money is concerned, because a slave is usually worked for no money. So all of the kickback goes back to who? To the plantation owner. That's why the brother Yashalam from the New York camp did a video, Empires of Mud, and he was, and in that video, there were people speaking about how all of these different top banks got rich off of slavery. And when they were forced to give up their slaves because slavery was abolished in England, there were compensations or reparations that were given. But those reparations didn't go to the ones that worked the fields. They didn't go to the ones that were mistreated, raped, lynched, and all that. It went to the corporations that so-called lost their commodity, which was the slaves. So they were compensated, and the compensation was so great that it took up to 2000, all the way to 2015, to pay off that debt from when it first was set up. I believe it was back in the 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. So they got rich off of slaves, and this is what they've done, and this is the merchandise that they've pushed out there. So in order for Esau to keep his empire going, the Israelites must remain in captivity so that they can keep making money and keep building up their empire. You see that the way they make their money. They have no talent. They're culture vultures. They steal the talent. They exploit the talent. And they give the talented ones mere crumbs, which goes back to the story of Lazarus and the rich man, which was a parable where the dogs lick the sores, you know. So they pretty much just get the scraps, you know, from the master's table. which is the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, so on and so forth. And speaking of the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and the top elite, Donald Trump's brother that just died at 71, he was pretty much going in, on I forget exactly who it was he was going in on, but he was doing a little too much talking, so they silenced him. Because anytime you come against the elite and you're in a prevalent position like that, they silence you. You see? But anyway, let's go to Revelation 18 and spare me 1 second. All right, this is dealing with the merchandise that they got rich off of. It says, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. And that's how they got rich. Jake to Esau looks at Jake as a business, as merchandise. He doesn't look at them as being equal. He doesn't look at any of us like that, as being so-called human beings or being people. He just sees dollar signs. And this is why they have people like Vocab Malone and others coming against the Hebrew Israelites, because the Hebrew Israelites are cutting in to their economy. They're cutting into their profit, to their bottom line, because through the Hebrew Israelites, Yahweh Bashem Shai through the Hebrew Israelites is waking up a lot of Jakes out there and bringing them out of that life, out of that world, and it's cutting into their bottom line, so to speak. So now let's go back to Ezra chapter 4 and 2. Then they came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers and said unto them, let us build with you. And this is what Vocab Malone and them is saying. Look, we're Christians, man. Let us build with you. Jesus died for everybody. Let us build together. He ain't saying it in those words, but their action is the same. It says, for we seek your power as you do. See, they're saying that they're seeking the Most High, your God, as you do. And we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Ashur, which brought us up hither. And that goes back to the time when, even before that, you had Shalmaneser the fifth, which took the children of Israel out of Samaria and those regions there and brought them into Assyria, and they put in transplants. And then that's what kept happening. They kept putting in transplants. So different kings put in transplants in that region. It says, but Zerubbabel and Jeshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, you have nothing to do with us to build an house unto our power. And that's our sentiment also. You ain't got nothing to do with us to build with us. And that's why they go what? On a demonization campaign, to demonize us, to come against us, to make us look bad at every corner. That's why they take a video that they should have uploaded, because Vocab Malone uploads all the videos that he does with all the different camps. But for some reason, the video of when he came to the apostles and I believe even Dallas, they didn't upload those right away. Why? Because he had to chop and screw and analyze and criticize, and it took him this long. And now he's finally about to release it as a documentary, which Elder Yashwama told me that he had said that they're going to do a documentary. And it's going to try to paint us in a negative light, but we don't give a damn. Because we were there, we put the video up. That video is actually gone now, because I was on InfoDoc 11, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So that video is gone. So whoever didn't get to see it, they're going to believe the bullshit that Vocab puts out there. And Vocab talking about that he's feels threatened by the different camps, that they're going to beat him up if he don't shut up or whatever the case is. He know that was not the case when he came to see us, when he came to see Dallas or other GMS camps. Actually, when I was reading, he was like in my face. That doesn't say that. Doesn't say that. When I kept saying Yahweh Shai, it doesn't say that. What did it say that? Like he kept getting in my face, like, I mean, he wasn't directly in my face, but he was like acting Like he was like lunging towards me. I'm like, oh, all right, dog. But yet he feels threatened. It's just like that woman when the Jake told her, he was filming her, told her to put her dog on the leash, that Edomite woman, and she kept coming at him. Stop, But she feels threatened. She's on the phone telling the cops that she's feeling threatened, but she's on the assault, on the attack. These devils are too much, man. It says you, and this is what our forefathers told them devils back then, and this is what we're telling you, devil vocab Malone. It says you have nothing to do with us to build an house unto our power, but we ourselves together will build unto the Lord power of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, hath commanded us, because the Most High set him up to do that, because that was going to be the rebuilding of the temple that the Babylonians destroyed. And the Lord, through the Medo-Persian Empire, through the King Cyrus, the Persian, allowed us and gave us the order to build the temple back up to the Lord. And he understood that the Most High set him up in that position to do that. Now check this out. Once he said that, once Zerubbabel and Joshua and the rest of the elders said, look, man, you ain't got nothing to do with us to build with us. And that's what we were telling vocab in them and all them other so-called plantation / Renaissance Christian groups. And this is what happened. Check it out. Verse 4. Then the people, what people? All of those different nations together. Today you have vocab, and you even have Israelites that are a part of this in the trying to overthrow and destroy this truth. It says, then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Judah and troubled them in building. And this is what we see going on right now. These devils are trying to weaken this and troubling the building, which today is being done spiritually. Back then it was being done physically. So now let's go to the word weakened. And it's not talking about the weekend. Weakened, rapa, which is to heal. But it also can mean to sink, relax, sink down, let drop, be disheartened. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to dishearten brothers, from following the truth. And that's why if the Spirit of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai, is not dealing with an individual, they're going to get caught up in them traps. To sink down, to sink, drop, to sink, relax, abate. Right, to abate means to like fall back. To relax, withdraw. To let drop, abandon. See, they're trying to get Jake to abandon the building of this truth. They're trying to get him to put their bricks down, to put their working tools down, spiritually, which is this truth, and stop building this temple. Because once the temple is built, it's over. And that's what these nations were speaking about. That look, once this gets going, see, because what they do, at first they came to our forefathers to try to get involved. And when they couldn't get involved because we told them hell no, then they started weakening and trying to stop the work. Then when that wasn't working, as you're going to read on down, then they started going to the king and getting letters and getting legislation and the word of the king to what? Stop the building of the temple. You'll see. All right, so now the next one is troubled. The word troubled. There's two words for that. Is bahal, which is to disturb, alarm, terrify. Hurry, be disturbed, be anxious, be afraid, be hurried, be nervous. Yeah, and that's what they're doing. They're troubling the building, the spiritual building of the house of David. It says to be in haste, be hasty, to make haste, act hastily, be hurried, to dismay, terrify. And that's why they put up different information. And these Israelites out here, they're such in a Western mentality and they're such in an emotional state, especially these men, that they'll see that and be like, oh man, I can't believe they said that. See, I was almost about to join, but nah. Well, good, don't join. Get the fuck out of here. Good riddance to you. Because the Lord don't need you. The Lord got his elect that will build, that will get down, in the trenches, that will have the tools, of these scriptures, of this knowledge to build, that are going to have the right consistency in the cement to build and put the bricks together, not that untempered mortar bullshit that you plantation / Renaissance Christians are trying to push, along with Jakes out there that don't know that they're Israelites, along with Jakes out there that do know that they're Israelites, along with Jakes out there that were a part of this and fell away and discarded the whole thing. Because all of you are going to be judged by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Let's read on. Verse 5, it says, and hired, now listen good, and hired counselors against him. So they try to stop, now, to palpitate, to terrify. All right, so now we read the word hired. Right now we're going to read the word counselor. The word counselor, ya'itaza, to advise, consult, give counsel, purpose, devise, plan, to advise, counsel, give counsel, consult, counselor, deliberate, counsel together, exchange counsel, to conspire, which when I read that brought to mind Psalms the 83rd chapter. And this is talking about this time now, Psalms 83. Psalms the 83rd chapter and the first verse. It says, keep not thou silence, O Most High. Hold not thou thy peace, and be not still, O power. Yeah, because these devils, as it's going to say it, it says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult. Yeah, they're making a big stink. They're making a big noise. And what is that big noise? That big noise is trying to come against the truth of the Most High and try to stop his men from teaching his word and building up the tabernacles of David. All right. So it says, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Yeah, and they lifted up the head. They came feignedly. They came like snakes back then, and they're coming like snakes today. Like vocab comes like a big fat snake, big fat mamba. So he got that big fat snake head, He's coming acting like he's so benevolent, but all he's doing is gathering information to try to make us look bad. Because that's what he was hired for. Just like back then, they hired counselors against who? Against Israel. So that they do what? So that they will stop building the physical temple back then. So they're trying to stop the building of the spiritual temple today, which are the tabernacles of David in the book of Amos, the 9th chapter. It says they have taken crafty counsel, see, against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They go that word consulted again, which means to conspire. So there's a conspiracy here at work. The Lord is telling us that these devils are conspiring against us. He's telling us that they're doing this, and then he's given the ones that are involved in the conspiracy. It goes on to say, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Why? Because today, back then, they in Ezra, they try to stop the physical building of the temple so that we couldn't come back together. Today they're trying to stop the spiritual building of the temple, and they're taking crafty counsel. And there's people that are believing them, especially Jake, because Jake is simple out there, So it says that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, and we see that the name of Israel at one time among the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians was no longer in remembrance because it was beaten. We were beaten into submission. We were beaten into receiving another language, receiving another nationality, receiving another name. We were beaten into these things, And we, at one time, we all lost the fact that we were Israelites. But it's coming back. So they see the rising up and they're trying to stop it because they did that back then in the 90s and even before that. And once the year 2000 came and all those splits happened and a lot of individuals went back in the world, they pretty much had already they infiltrated the school, and pretty much their mind was at ease because the main headquarters, which is no longer there, they moved their main school that used to be in that headquarters over to Madison Ave. They're teaching a total a Roman Catholic doctrine, totally different from what it was back then. But they didn't count on the splinter groups that the Lord caused the splits to happen to continue this work. Because the Most High is on a mission, man. And once this thing started blowing up in 2006, 2007, and really started hitting the scenes and going global 2009, 2010 around there, then they started to see the growth. But, you know, they were still trying to infiltrate or still trying to stop it, but it wasn't that bad. They felt they had it under control. But then it just kept building and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing to what you see today. So now they have to scramble to do whatever they can to stop this word. And they can't. It says, for they have consulted together with one consent. See, they conspired. The word conspire means with breathing. They have one breath, and that one breath is one mind, and that one mind is stop these Hebrew Israelites by any means necessary. And the best way that they could stop any situation or group from flourishing is to demonize them, because they know that the average person is that gullible that they'll believe anything that the media says. It says, they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, because by you trying to stop the Most High, I'm sorry, by you trying to stop us, you're trying to stop the Most High, because this is the Most High's will to build up his people back again. I don't know who the hell you think you are, you Edomites. Let me see, there's a precept there to consent. One consent. Number two, it says Hebrew moved. So they're moved. They are one consent, or they are confederate against thee. They're confederate against the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Shai. Now it starts to name the culprits, the tabernacles of Edom, and that is number one on the list in this particular list. And Vocab alone is an Edomite, you know, and he is the main one, or one of the main top ones that were hired, you know, to come against this. Remember, when you see this devil, he's not there teaching something because he wholeheartedly believes it, and because, you know, the Lord touched his heart so deep, you know, in teaching the word that he wanted to bring others to the light. He's doing that because he's hired to do that. He's on a quest to destroy the Hebrew Israelites by any means necessary. That's why whenever you see him speaking or whatever, blowing out that verbal diarrhea out of his mouth, he's talking about the Hebrew Israelites. He's trying to paint them in a bad light. He's talking about the Muslims and trying to connect the Hebrew Israelites with the Muslims, which we have nothing to do with the Muslims. But he's doing that because they know the world has been conditioned to believe that the Muslims are nothing but terrorists. So they're trying to equate us with that so that the world can look at us in the same manner. And all his thing is just, he's no different than Vlad TV. All Vlad does is get on there, interviews different individuals, and he's always trying to bring out the dirt. Or you was in prison, or your father was in prison, or you did this, or you did that, or you stole this, or you stole that. Always trying to make Jake look in a bad light. But these dummies keep going on there. Fucking culture vultures, man. It goes on to say the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites, because these so-called Arabs, they're a part of this too. They're a part of trying to destroy us. Of Moab, which are the so-called Chinese, and the Hagarenes, which are so-called one of the so-called African tribes. I'm not sure if that's the Canaanites or if they fall under the Mizraimites. I'll have to look it up again. I haven't looked that up in a while. It says Gabal and Ammon. Ammon are the so-called Japanese, and Amalek, which is the head of the Edomites, the head tribe of the Edomites, which are the Amalekites, which are those 1948ers, as brothers call them. It says the Philistines, which are also Egyptians, with the inhabitants of Tyre, which the inhabitants of Tyre at one time were Canaanites. They were living in those lands. It says Ashur, so the Assyrians also is joined with them. Yeah, they have helped the children of Lot, Silah, and the children of Lot are who? The Moabites and the Ammonites. And they've helped them. All right, so that this is the conspiracy that's being waged against the nation of Israel. These individuals that you see campaigning and going to the different camps of Hebrew Israelites, they're pretty much just gathering information and intel to try to make us look bad. That's why when Vocab came to the camp where we were at, what he kept saying, well, you're gonna kill Edomite kids, right? You're gonna kill the children, right? The infants, right? You're gonna kill them, right? Because he was trying to bait us so that he could have that on camera, so that he could just take a little clip and just use it. Yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. We ain't gonna do nothing until the Lord Yahweh B'Shem El Shai gives us the power. And nothing that you could do can stop this work. Because if this work be of men, it will come to naught. But if it be of the Most High, you cannot overthrow it. Least happily you be found to fight even against the Most High. And that's what you're doing, Vocab, you damn Edomite. So now, going back to Ezra chapter 4 and verse 5, and hired counselors, which is a conspiracy, against them. Against who? Against our forefathers, which they're doing that today. To what? To frustrate their purpose. Now let's look up this word frustrate. That is verse 5. To frustrate. The word there is parar. To break, frustrate, to break, violate. See? To frustrate, make ineffectual. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to stop the word. To be frustrated, to be broken, to break to bits. They're trying, and it says shatter. They're trying to shatter this thing, to split, divide, and that's what they're trying to do, because they've been successful in bringing a divide among the camps, by paying certain individuals off to do certain things, but they can't split or frustrate or break apart or shatter the elect, because this message is of the Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. It has nothing to do with man. We're just teaching it because the Lord has moved us to teach it. So the Lord has a mission that he's pushing out here. It says to split, divide, to split, crack through, to break apart, to be split, be cracked through. So that's what they're doing. They're trying to make void, frustrate. They're trying to frustrate this work. So it says, and hired counselors like Vocab Malone and them against them to frustrate their purpose. And what is the purpose? To build the temple. Back then it was physical, today it's spiritual. All the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, even unto the reign of Darius, king of Persia. So this was something that they were doing not just for one day or a week or a year. They were doing this constantly, king after king. So this was a mission that they were on. And that's what this devil Vocab is on. He's on a mission because he's paid to do the mission. There's nobody in their right mind that will come out of their own pocket to try to demonize somebody, when they know that what they're doing is bullshit. There's no one in their right mind that's going to go into their own pocket and try to go into their own pocket and try to fund their venture of trying to stop somebody with their bullshit, meaning Vocab's bullshit, out of their own pocket. It ain't gonna happen. So that's why he's so diligent, because he's being paid off. He has the monetary backing to be able to do these things. So it says, and in the reign, verse 6, and in the reign of Ahasuerus, check it out, in the beginning of his reign, wrote they unto him an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. Now let's look up that word accusation. You're gonna like this one. So it says accusation, right? The Hebrew word for accusation is shatana, which goes back to the origin shatan. So shatana means accusation, enmity, opposition, accusation, which goes into, let's go real quick before we read the other part. Let's go real quick to Revelation chapter 12, and we can start at 10. So the Lord got you pegged, man. Vocab, man. You're exposed, man. You're a phony, a fraud, a fake, a culture vulture, a demon, a devil, an Edomite, and Satan. And that old serpent with a big fat head. Revelation 12 and 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren, vocab alone included, is cast down, which accuse them before our power day and night. So now I want to look that up because I'm going to read a couple more verses. But I want to read that up. Look that up real quick. Let me go to my other phone. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 12, and verse 10, and look up the word accuser. Where you at? The accuser. Katagoreo, which means to be a plaintiff, that is to charge with some offense, accuse, object. And that's what they're doing. They're accusing us. They're an adversary. They're opposing this because really deep down inside, they're really opposing the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. That's what when I that those names are a problem, man. Those names are a big problem. The name Yahweh and the name Yahushai they're a big problem to these people. That's why Nate has a problem with it. That's why when I was reading the scripture, wherever it said Jesus or Christ, I kept saying Yahushai. He said, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. Why is it such a problem? Why are y'all so offended at that name? If we just some bugged out individuals, how come why don't you just let us be to our madness? Since that's how you view us, why is this truth such a threat to you? Why are you, so adamantly trying to stop it? Aha, think about it. And so we may come back to the Revelation 12. I got the main point. I want to get back to Ezra 4 because there's a lot of juiciness in this. So now, it says, and in the reign of Ahasuerus, in the beginning of his reign, wrote they unto him an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. So now, the Hebrew word was shatana, which goes back to shaitan, which means to be or act as an adversary, resist, oppose. All right? Adversary, resist, to attack, accuse. And that's what they're doing. They're attacking and they're accusing us. I'm want to know. Now let's go into something different. All right. So now let's go back. Let's go back to Ezra chapter 4 and verse 7. Now check this out. After all of that, the hiring of these counselors and the coming against and trying to stop and accusing and being adversaries and being the devil and trying to stop the work. Then it goes on to say, going to the different it says, and in the days of Artaxerxes wrote Bishlam, Mithridath, Tabiel, and the rest of their companions unto Artaxerxes, king of Persia, and the writing of the letter was written in the Syrian tongue and interpreted in the Syrian tongue. So they actually wrote a letter against the Israelites to make them stop building. Because remember, to these nations, we're nothing more than business. We're nothing more than merchandise. We help grow their economy. We help fatten their pockets. Remember that. It says, Rehum the chancellor and Shimshai the scribe wrote a letter against Jerusalem, to Artaxerxes the king in this sort. Now watch what they say. They're going to accuse, but they're going to be very clever in how they do it. Because you got to keep remembering that we're nothing but merchandise and business to these nations. We line their pockets. We make their pockets fat. We build up their economy. We build up their empire. It says, then wrote Rehum, the chancellor, and Shimshai, the scribe, and the rest of their companions, the Dinaites, the Arphaxites, the Tarpelites, the Pharsites, the Archavites, the Babylonians, the Susanites, the Dehavites, and the Elamites. These rat bastards too. Fucking Elamites, East Indians. You know, which you have a lot of Israelites among them, because you had a lot of Israelites that came to the Passover back then from India. You know, but them rat bastards, them actual ones and actual Elamites, they came against us too. That's why no nation gonna escape. I'm not gonna be nice to any of my slaves. All of them gonna get fucked up just as equal. I'm not gonna be lenient on none of them. I'm gonna fuck them all up, because they all fucked us up. Now you could be lenient with your slaves if you want to. I'm not. I'm busting their ass. And remember, the Lord is gonna put into our minds all the shit that they've done to us. See, we focus on Esau because he's the main devil right now and the shit that he's done. But these devils have done a lot of shit to us too. Can't forget that. All right, now, verse 10. And the rest of the nations whom the great and noble Asnapper brought over and set in the cities of Samaria, and the rest that are on this side the river, and at such a time. Now listen to the letter. This is the copy of the letter that they sent unto him, even unto Artaxerxes the king, thy servants, the men on this side the river, and at such a time. Be it known unto the king that the Jews which came up from thee to us are come unto Jerusalem, building the rebellious and the bad city. Ooh, the rebellious and the bad city. And that's how they're painting us right now. You know, they're trying to paint us as terrorists. It says, and have set up the walls thereof, and joined the foundations. Be it known now unto the king that if this city be builded, and the wall set up again, then will they not what? Pay toll, tribute, and custom, and so thou shalt damage the revenue of the kings. So what did they do it? They made it a money issue. But why? Because we're nothing more than commodities to them. We're nothing more than business. We're nothing more than finance. We're nothing more than an economic basis for them. They make merchandise of us. They get paid off of us. So that's why these devils don't want us to get back into power. It says, now because we have maintenance from the king's palace, and it was not meet for us to see the king's dishonor, therefore have we sent and certified the king, that search may be made in the book of the records of thy fathers, so shall thou find in the book of the records, and know that this city is a rebellious city and hurtful unto kings and provinces, and that they have moved sedition within the same of old time, for which cause was this city destroyed. See? It's always painting us in a negative light. It says, we certify the king that if this city be builded again, and the walls set up, by this means thou shalt have no portion, going back to money, no portion on this side the river. So that's what it is. You have to remember, we are merchandise to these people. We are an economy. Slaves are an economy. Slaves build up empires for next to nothing. And in some cases, for free. It says, then sent the king an answer unto Rehum, the chancellor, and to Shimshai, the scribe, and to the rest of their companions that dwell in Samaria, and unto the rest of the unto the rest beyond the river, peace, and at such a time. Now keep in mind, these devils are in our land, complaining to the king to stop us from building. The nerve of the nerve of them bastards. It says, the letter which you sent unto us hath been plainly read before me, and I commanded, and search hath been made, and it is found that this city of old time hath made insurrection against kings, and that rebellion and sedition have been made therein. There have been mighty kings also over Jerusalem, which have ruled over all countries beyond the river, and toll, tribute, and cut was paid unto them. See, because when Jake was in power, the other nations had to fit the bill. They had to be the slaves because they are actually the slaves. When we read the law, it says that when we have servants, we're supposed, if we have an Israelite servant, we're not supposed to rule over them with rigor. But the servants and the captives and the slaves that we're supposed to have are supposed to be of the other nations. So that's what these devils don't want us to get back into power. It says, give ye now commandment to cause these men to cease, and that this city be not builded, until another commandment shall be given from me. Take heed now that you fail not to do this. Why should damage grow to the hurt of the kings? See? And what damage is that? Financial damage. And that's why they don't want us to get back into power, because if we get back, when we get back into power, not if, their ride is over, because now they're gonna have to be back in the place where they belong, is paying tribute to us. The Lord said he made the world for our sakes. It says now when the copy of King Artaxerxes' letter was read, King Artaxerxes' letter was read before them, Rehum and Shimshai, the scribe, and their companions, they went up in haste to Jerusalem unto the Jews and made them to cease by force, see, and power. So they physically stopped us. And this time they're going to do that. It's a demonization first, and then they're going to try to physically stop us. Then ceased the work of the house of the Most High, which is at Jerusalem. So it ceased unto the second year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. But you're not going to stop it this time, because this time is spiritual, and the Lord is raising up the tabernacles of David that were fallen. So now I'm going to end it with this scripture in Revelation 12 and 11 and 12. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And that's why they're constantly accusing and trying to stop this word. Now, somebody said the screen was frozen. I hope that this lesson is getting through. At least if brothers could hear, the lesson, because it cut off for a minute and then it came back on. So I'm hoping that this lesson caught on. But if not, then Lord's will, if it didn't catch, then Lord's will, I'll have to do a part 2 where I can recap wherever I left off there. Let's hit one more precept and close out. Let's go to the book of 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. The main point is in 8. So this is the book of 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. And it reads, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. And that's why Vocab Malone has such a hard-on for the Israelites, because they're trying to stop this word. But you can't stop this word, because this is of the Most High. And you can't stop the Most High unless you're trying to fight against the Lord. And you ain't going to win. The arms are too short to box with the Most High. So this has been to cast him down from his excellency, and they're trying to stop us from getting back into power. And that's why they're trying to physically, spiritually and physically stop the building of the house of David that is being built right now. But you're not going to be able to stop it. It's already in motion. You know, the word is already out. People got the word, they got the message, they got the memo. The elect are waking up. So what you're doing is in vain, but you still have to do what you got to do. Why? Because you are a necessary evil. I'm talking about you, vocab, the devil, Malone, Edomite, and the rest of you clowns and you coons that are helping him. You know, you sambos, you sellouts, you know? So with that, I pray that your brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say, Shalom.